Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Rad Movement on YouTube. Today, I'm going to be tattooing the Chad. And we don't really have a specific topic, but when we get together, we typically talk about life and things that have gone on for us at certain times and whatnot. Uh, One of the things that has gone on for Sir the Chad that I just decided to finally start to embark on is the vasectomy.
Well, yeah, you finally took the plunge and set up your consultation.
I did. And it was cool. They knew who I was on the phone. So I was like, cool.
That was funny.
That's nice. Did the numbing work?
So far, yeah.
Cool. Alright. We used TKTX numbing on him.
Yeah, knock on some wood. Because I've been looking forward to this for a while.
Getting the session done. Oh, the vasectomy? Wait, which one?
Sarcasm about the pain.
Oh, sorry. Gotcha. Not looking forward to any of this. No, like when I went and got my big session on my arm done for my birthday, which like, cool, go and have your life destroyed for, a whole entire 12-hour day on your birthday. Like that was a lot of like, I was stoked to go do it, but granted, I knew it was gonna suck.
Yeah.
It did.
It's like,
but it was dope.
I'm excited for the work to be done. I'm not excited for the process.
Yeah, the process is definitely.
Same with the vasectomy.
Hey. Yeah. So like, what was that like?
So it wasn't too bad. Like the day of, I was freaking out the day before. I'm like, oh, what do I want to do this? Do I want to do this? Do I want to do this? And my buddy Vance had one done, and he stayed with us for a while afterwards so he could recoup. And he seemed perfectly fine, but he also got knocked out. The one that we get, you don't get knocked out, they dope you up real good. But like the morning of, I'm like, I could still back out. And then Megan's driving me, I'm like, fuck it. I took the pills, like, because they have you take like it's like a Percocet, and then she could name off whatever other drug it is, I don't remember. But it puts you in like a trance-like state, and you're just like, okay, just get it done.
Cool.
I go sat down, and they prep you. They put a little gauze on you, cut a little square, and pull your balls out. So you're sitting there, just laying there with your balls out till the doctor comes in. And
No big.
yeah, whatever.
I've actually been that way before with certain mods I've had to try and sew up my Prince Albert hole on my pee-pee. So I've been in weird situations like this before.
But yeah, so he comes in, he starts working on me. Like they give you a local, which you don't even feel because you have the Percocet and you have whatever else it was.
So it's like Percocet and then this other drug that just makes you like real dopey dope.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So they give you the local, and then they cut you open. As he's cutting me open, he's working on me. For those that have watched before, I'm into the paranormal thing, and he's got some like like the stuff they look in your nose and your ears and whatever on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
How they're like in there. Well, they come up out of the thing and they fall on the ground.
Oh.
Like one of them does it, and I'm like, oh. And he stops. He looks over at it, and then another one does it. And I'm like, is your office haunted? So we're just sitting there talking about ghosts and shit while he's got my balls open.
I love it.
I mean, at one point when he started working on the left one, the local kind of wore off, and he just saw me jump a little bit. So I'll give you another local. I didn't like feel it bad. It's just like a lot of pressure.
Right.
So he gave me another local. It's just surreal looking down at your crotch and seeing the smoke come up when he's cauterizing everything.
So, how long did the process take?
Like 20 minutes. Tops.
So the surreal nature of it, like, what other parts were surreal?
It's the whole thing. Like
Yeah.
you don't think about like you're just gonna have a casual conversation while somebody's like cutting your balls open and tinkering around in there.
I can dig it.
It's like 20 minutes in and out. Like I worried about that. I thought about backing out, and then I just show up here today. I'm like, oh, let's just get this over with. And this is gonna take much longer than that did.
Right. It's funny how we do that to ourselves. Like, oh, tattoos are cool, but Don't go near my ball bag. That's scary.
Yeah. I mean, it really didn't hurt too bad. I mean, the healing process that I told you at, what was it, Villain,
The surf fest,
locals
yeah.
only or whatever it was. That was maybe like a week and a half to 2 weeks after, and I was walking around fine.
Right, yeah.
They just tell you, a couple days, minimal movement, ice every 20 minutes of every hour that you're awake.
Really?
Well, I did like ice the whole time.
That makes sense.
'Cause it helps with the swelling. They swell up real bad.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I was worried about like afterwards. Like, is it gonna hurt? Like when I go to pee or something? Because only if I cut the wrong tube. I'm like, oh.
Uh-oh.
He was making a joke, and I was doped
Did
up.
you,
and
Doc? Yeah, so you were doped up, and how did that hit you?
I was like, oh, please tell me you didn't cut the wrong tube. And he just laughed, and no, I didn't. You're fine.
Sounds like he's pretty cool and easy to deal with.
He's super chill.
I like that. Fuck yeah. Yeah, I'm excited. Fucking I've been supposed to do it. You know that. Like,
Yeah.
the plan was to do it a while ago, and I just didn't.
The plan was to do a video on it, like
Right.
of the whole process.
And yeah, we didn't do that. But I might do a video of my process now, because like I do see like the benefit for like just the conversation we had with Brandon outside.
Yeah.
You know how he was, kind of weird about doing it, and it's like, man, your kids are fucking, grown as shit, and you don't want any more kids. Like it's the way to go.
Like, if you have insurance like I do, I mean, they cover a portion of it. Like,
Right.
And the rest, if you have an HRA or an HSA, it can come right out of that. So I paid $0 out of pocket for
Oh,
it.
no shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna end up spending $1,000.
Yeah.
It's $250 for the consult, and then fucking
Like
$750 for
yeah.
the process. But you know what? I'm okay with that, cause I'm a cowboy when it comes to insurance and things. I'm an outlaw, a loner, dotty, a rebel.
Like I work for them and I still don't understand it all. So.
Oh yeah, you have a job that has like insurance and stuff. So that is one of the things I do want to do in the tattoo shop and implement in here is do like a group insurance plan for everybody. I think that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean that's not super common in this industry either.
Right, exactly. And like obviously, I'm 42 and I don't have it. Like
Yeah.
that's a totally different topic for a totally different day. But seriously, like having insurance in your life makes things a little easier in some instances, a little less easy in some instances. I don't have any hang-ups with them, with like having to go through the insurance or anything. I just get to go in and get my shit done.
Yeah.
But I also hate paperwork and things, so it's definitely good for me to do it the old Robbie way. Yeah, it's weird. I've not had insurance like my whole life, really. Huh.
Like I said, I worked for them and they still deny me for shit too.
That's cool.
Like we had to
Appreciate you.
we had to take Cora to the hospital. Well, we took her to the urgent care a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, because she has allergies and she got a cold or something. And just listening to her breathe, you could hear you could hear it, and you know how it hears when it's wrong. And she couldn't go like 30 seconds without coughing, so we said, let's go to urgent care. Maybe they give her an inhaler or something. Well, we get there and her heart rate was higher than they were comfortable with, and they said we can't physically give her a nebulizer treatment here, but we think that's what she needs. We're going to send you to the hospital. Go to the hospital. They run a bunch of tests. Give her the nebulizer. You give her inhalers, and she's fine. Then ran an X-ray just to be safe, make sure it's not pneumonia. But I get a thing in the mail later saying, "Oh, we didn't cover this test they ran, and it's going to be $700." I was like, surprise billing. They didn't tell me it might not be covered.
Damn, dude. Yeah, see, those are the things I don't have to deal with. I know what I'm getting into. But yeah, no, that dude, fucking, like I said, totally different conversation for a totally different day. Because insurance is just wild.
That's like a sit down, not tattoo, and try and hash it out.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, so now how far away from it are you now?
I had it done, I want to say the 19th of January.
Okay.
Because it was like a week after the cruise that we went on, which I highly recommend. Disney Cruises, not a sponsor. But yeah, it was like a week after that because they're like, oh, we can get you in November. Well, I'm going to be going to Virginia in November. I'd like to be able to walk around because I'm going to be going up and down stairs. So, oh, we'll just do it in January. Well, let's do it after my cruise. I want to enjoy my cruise.
Right.
I don't want to waddle the whole cruise. Because you do a lot of waddling the first couple of weeks.
Well,
A lot of that cowboy walk.
I'm not worried about it. I haven't been wearing my leg at home lately, so I've been rolling around in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Or on crutches. So, like, I can just wheelchair it up.
Like, all you really be doing for the first couple of days is laying in bed and getting up to go to the bathroom.
Okay. Do they have you? Well, yeah. So what's like the pain management regimen afterwards?
Well, he prescribed me, like, I want to say it was Perks. There was like was one of the oxys and acetaminophen, which I think is Percocet.
Okay.
And I was like, I read the title oxy. I'm like, look, I'm not taking these because I want nothing to do with that. I go, can I take my alternative medicine, which I'm not going to say. And he said, yeah, that's fine. So I just did that, and I could have even done without it. It just feels like he got kicked in the balls, like, it's just lasting for a while, is all.
So it's not the end of the world.
No. You swell up, they turn blue, they go back to normal, and you're good.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
As my other brother said, it looks like, he said his looked like a blue stress ball. Which is, it's pretty accurate. It bruises regardless of, because they say, oh, if you don't move so much, it's not going to bruise as bad. It's going to bruise regardless of what you do.
Yeah.
The worst part was it took the stitches forever to come out.
They just removed or dissolved on their own?
Yeah, they're supposed to dissolve on their own, but mine never really dissolved. Parts of them did, and like one day, it was after a while, it was all healed up. And I get out of the shower, and what I think is like one of the little scabs from one of the stitching areas. So I like rub it because it's falling off, and then the string is out from underneath it, and I'm like, oh, I probably shouldn't have, but I pulled it. I just pulled out a stitch, but it was already healed. So.
Right. Wild. Yeah, I've had like I said, I've had a couple of things done to try and close up an old piercing, and I always pop the stitches, and it never heals. So that's always fun. But yeah, I'm actually pretty stoked to just get it done, get it over with, just because it's been on the list for a while.
It's totally. It's more psychological. Like, oh, they're going to cut open my balls. I really don't want to do this. You can freak out the day of, but then afterwards, like,
see, I don't know if I'm gonna get there because I really don't care. I'm like, dude, I've seen some parts of my insides of my body that were pretty weird.
Yeah, you've been through worse than this is gonna be.
Right. Like this is like, wait a second, so I don't have to go under for this surgery.
Yeah.
And like, it's in and out, like super outpatient, so like I don't have to stay in a hospital. Shit, man, sign me up. So like, and I think that's where our experiential differences definitely make a mark in this situation, because I'm not here for this. This hospital life.
Get like 3 or 4 ice bags and rotate them out, and you're good to go.
Hell yeah, I'm with that. And that's easy enough.
Yeah, and then I just last week, 2 weeks ago, went to Holmes to do my follow-up to make sure I'm all good to go, and I'm officially shooting blanks.
On purpose.
On purpose.
Dig it.
The lady called me to tell me, she's like, yeah, there's no swimmers in there, have fun. It's like, it's a hilarious office.
Yeah. I like it. Hell yeah, man. So what's been new in life other than this?
Other than that, paranormal stuff has been picking up. Like I mentioned, we recently went to Virginia. Was our big trip. We helped with a public investigation at St. Albans, which is one of the more haunted locations on the East Coast.
Okay.
And then we did a Get Your Fun On, which is right down the road. We did an investigation there. We have our own little internal tour set up, which, if you guys want to come to that, you're welcome, of Brevard. And then after that, we're doing a trip to Casadega, which, if you've never heard of that,
I want to go to Casadega for sure.
Yeah, it's like the biggest spiritualist community in, I know in Florida, but I want to say pretty much
Anywhere?
I think so. I'm not.
Really?
Don't quote me on that.
Right.
But yeah, so we're going to go there in June. So we're starting to pick up some steam, do some more stuff.
Hell yeah.
Because the house is finally done. Cora's doing good in school. Megan's, she's finally on good after her gastric bypass and everything. So we're in a good spot. I can actually do more stuff now.
Hell yeah, dude. That's rad.
So I'd like to get us into, it's like Old South Pittsburgh in Tennessee. It's a hospital that's pretty haunted. And a paranormal team has actually bought it, and they run the tours out of it. And that's the goal right there. Be a paranormal team and buy a haunted location and just charge people to walk through.
That's dope. So, like, what kind of experience do they get for walking through?
Typically within, I think it's like 1,200, you get the place to yourself for the night.
Oh, okay.
So they have their security there, and their security room to make sure you don't fuck up the place. But you pretty much get the run to yourself. You just get to investigate with your team.
Hell yeah.
And that's what people don't realize either. When you see these people going into these locations, they're paying for it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't realize that.
Yeah. Like if you want to do one of the more famous ones, you're gonna pay a pretty penny.
No shit.
Yep.
I didn't even realize there was a market for it,
Yeah. Well, numbing wore off there pretty quick, but. But yeah, it's
Can't have it all for free, right?
it's an industry like any other.
Yeah, I guess so.
Like if you want to do the St. Augustine Lighthouse by yourself with your group, I think it was like, don't quote me, but I think it was like 1,200 or something.
No shit. And so that's the only tours that they charge?
Oh, they'll charge you to do like a regular walkthrough where they guide you and they tell you the stories and the history of the building and stuff. Certain places will. They have different pricing for different, tour options.
That's wild, man.
A good option if you don't have a team and you want to start doing stuff like that is to look for public investigations in your area. Like that's what we help with in Virginia.
Okay.
Where you sell tickets, like a team or two get together and they buy out the location.
Right.
Or they get with the location, they work out a deal where you charge for tickets for people to come and investigate with you.
That's pretty cool, I imagine. Because, there's a lot that goes into it. So if you don't have the fucking...
If you don't have the money for the equipment, you don't have the $1,200 to put down to investigate a place.
Right.
Pay the $50, $75, $100, whatever to go and investigate and use all the equipment and not have to buy it yourself.
Yep.
And see if it's something that you want to get into. A lot of times that's how some groups get their members too, because the person that buys the ticket, they like the people that are there, they like the equipment.
Right.
It's a good vibe, and sometimes the team will pick them up.
Yeah, it's wild because I know that there's a market for everything, and I know that there's a niche everywhere for things, but just didn't realize that that market truly existed.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. So that's goals for you one day, or what?
Goals? Well, me and one of my co-directors actually sat and talked about this, because we were trying to do that dinner and a ghost thing at Hell and Blazes, and I think we bit off more than we could chew too soon.
Okay.
Because we did one official tour, and I ended up in the red after that. Because it's just working everything out with them, trying to figure out a menu that'll work for them.
Right.
At a price point that people will want to do, and I can still walk away with a little bit of money, and they can walk away with a little bit of money. But then you gotta pay the taxes, you gotta tip out your servers that stayed after hours.
Damn.
So it was just too much for me too soon, so I was like, it just doesn't make sense for me to continue to do this right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think where I want to be is to do a public investigation where I don't have to worry about planning a menu with the chefs and worrying about budget and cost. I can just pay out a location
Right.
and charge tickets to people to come and investigate with us.
Yeah. Interesting.
That's goals for right now.
I can dig it. Oh yeah.
Baby steps, and then we'll go from there. Because we have other ideas, just do the small stuff first.
Yeah.
'Cause I've done Publix before, I know how those operate.
And it seems like you like them and like you
Yeah.
understand the procedure and such.
Yeah, because people see what they see on TV,
Right.
not realizing that the majority, if not like 90% of that shit's fake.
Right.
It's entertainment. Nobody's going to watch what we do for an hour. Unless they actually watch us, where we just bullshit for like most of the time.
Right.
We make fun of each other the whole time.
Yeah, but like, it's not super high paced.
Right. You're sitting there, you're talking to a room, and there's, nobody there,
Right.
and you're relying on like the spirit box or like a live listen recorder to try and get something in real time. But especially with the Publix, it's really fun when you get a good group. Like in Virginia, we got one group because they rotate out. Like if it's a big building, you put like 2 people in each section and let the groups rotate sections every hour.
Mm-hmm.
So like we got one group that was hilarious. We sat there and joked with them the whole time, and it's a good energy in the room, and it's whatever responses you're getting kind of feed into that too.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Like
Makes sense.
Yeah, like we're sitting there joking and stuff that's coming through is also kind of jokey.
Huh.
That's how we go in there with a fun attitude. We just poke fun at each other the whole time.
Yeah, I didn't even really consider that as much.
I mean, you figure if somebody walks into your house,
Right.
Are you going to respond to them if they're, they look like a fun group, or are you going to respond to them if they think that you're evil?
Right, exactly. No, that makes total fucking sense, too. Total sense.
And that is to say, like, about 90% of what people think is paranormal is natural.
Really?
If not more.
Okay.
Like, because I get sent videos saying, oh, I got this orb. I go, no, you got dust. You got a bug. Or they'll say, I got this EVP. Well, were you next to, it kind of sounds like somebody else in the room, or is it somebody in a different room you're picking up on the recorder? My K2's going off. Well, you got your walkie-talkie right next to it. It's picking up your walkie-talkie, kind of stuff like that.
Okay. I don't know what EVP and K2 are.
The EVP is an electronic voice phenomenon. It's when you catch something on like a voice recorder that you didn't hear with your ear.
Okay.
K2 is similar to an EMF meter. It picks up electromagnetic fields.
Okay.
Which theory is, the spirit's there, it'll generate a field. But you have to rule out that it's not like a natural spike. Like you're not next to an outlet or next to your walkie-talkie. Anything that's going to put it off is going to set off that K2.
Right. And so people will
they won't
not consider those.
Yeah, they won't realize, my phone's on and in my pocket. I just got a text. That's why your K2's going on.
Gotcha. No shit. That's wild, man.
Yeah.
So, how much of the reality TV based on paranormal is real?
I think the early days of like Taps, the first Ghost Hunters show era, when they first started out was good, I think, because they would tell people, look, your house isn't haunted. This is your natural stuff is happening in your house. That knock that you hear in the wall is your plumbing and it needs to be fixed.
Okay.
And then you get fucking Ghost Adventures and you put on a tight t-shirt and yell at ghosts.
So,
I don't know.
Anyone can yell at an empty room, basically.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if you've ever watched like Dead Files, where they have a cop and a psychic. Psychics are a whole other thing for me. I think a lot of them are not legit.
All right, elaborate.
It's easy to cold read somebody, and they pick common topics that they think that the majority of people are going to have an issue with.
Yeah.
and they'll read you as they're doing their spiel. And by the end of it,
off of your energy.
Yeah, and by the end of it, you think that they've talked to your dead loved one, but in reality, they read you and told you what you wanted to hear and made you feel better.
Huh. I mean, I wouldn't put it past certain people.
Yeah.
I do believe that. I do believe that there's some sort of spirits, and I do believe that there's some sort of intuitive place for certain people. But
I'm not saying they don't exist altogether.
But I feel you, like, it's easy to scam somebody when you're doing something invisible.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, shit, you don't even really trust the paranormal,
Like, I'm a skeptical believer. Like, I think stuff's out there, but I think a lot of what people think is paranormal isn't actually paranormal.
I can dig that. So do you believe the stuff flying off the wall at the doctor's office when you got your...
That, I was pretty out of my head then, because I was pretty doped up.
Mm-hmm.
But from what it looked like, because those things kind of lock in there, and it came up and off. So who knows?
Right.
Could be not.
I dig it. Talk about some of the times that you've had things follow you.
I've only had one real instance where we thought something was following me. Because it would say the same name. When it would come through on other investigations and saying the same name. And when me and Megan lived with a roommate, I remember coming home one day, and I got to the door, and it was one of those doors that has like the oval glass that's like not stained glass, but you can't really see into it.
Right.
I saw somebody walk by it and go to the kitchen. When I opened the door to go inside, there's nobody in that area. And then Megan comes around the corner. I'm like, oh, you didn't just walk by? She's like, I was back there still. And we used to find a canister of pepper flakes in the freezer. And me and the roommate were like, why does she keep fucking putting pepper flakes in the goddamn freezer? It makes no sense. It doesn't change the flavor or keep them any fresher. They're dried. So one day we asked her about it, and she's like, I'm not doing that.
Damn. And did you ever get any reasoning behind it?
No, it just made no sense. Well, there was one day when I was living with a roommate, my buddy Mitch, and I had a beer hookah, which is similar. It's like a hookah that you just drink beer out of.
Okay.
Sitting on the counter in the kitchen, and you can see the kitchen from the living room. Me and him are eating dinner in the living room, and I look up, and I see this beer hookah lay on its side and then shoot back up. Straight up, and like, maybe one of the cats kind of bumped into it. I just didn't see it. I looked down, the cats are all there with us. It's like maybe like the AC kicked on or the fan kicked enough air to knock it down. So I get up and I go over to it, and Mitch, like my roommate's watching me the whole time. I turn the AC off, let it sit for a minute, turn it back on, and I look over at the beer hookah, and it's not moving. And then my roommate goes, "Oh, you saw it do that too." Well, he saw the same thing that I did, so I wasn't going crazy.
Right.
So I couldn't debunk it, so it's something that I couldn't explain.
Okay. What about the one that followed Megan around?
That was the one that I was mentioning before that would come through on other investigations saying her name. Megan jokingly one day said, like, she was following me, and Megan jokingly said, oh, well, he's my man. And then it came through on the recorder and it said, well, I saw him first, which was pretty funny.
Oh, so it didn't follow her around. That happened at an investigation.
No, it was following us around. That just came through on that investigation.
Oh, okay.
She was like, hey, it's me, but said her name. And I was like, oh, okay.
Ah. Yeah, so how often do you have that? Like, where...
Not very often at all, really,
Okay.
if ever anymore. I don't think I've had it happen again that I've noticed.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. So it's...
Like, and there are times when I'll spook myself, but then I'll stop and I'll end up debunking it myself.
Like rationalize it all right quick?
Like when we were in Virginia, we lived in a super old house, and I had neighbors that were like 3 feet away on either, because the houses were pretty close together. And in the downstairs we had swing doors that connected like the living room to like the basement hallway to the kitchen to the dining room, and it was in a square, so like all the doors were like that. So one day I'm sitting on the couch and Cora's sleeping next to me, Megan's at work, and I hear what sounds like shouting coming from the kitchen. And in the moment, I'm not thinking, oh, my neighbors are just yelling at each other and I can hear it. So I push open the swing door and I see one of the other doors just start swaying back and forth. I'm like, oh shit, is somebody in here with me? And then after freaking out for like, a minute, thinking somebody else is in there, I stop and I'm like, you know what, let me just see this. And I go back out and then I push the door open again. And I realized I created a vacuum and the door was just...
But yeah, so you have to think about...
Yeah, like people will call me with stuff like that and I'll be like this is what it is, it's not anything you need to be worried about.
So yeah, have you ever been to one where like there was some shit to worry about?
I've had things thrown at me before, and I've had things say they hate me, they want to kill me, they don't want me there. I've been told horrible things.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, knock on wood. There's no wood. I haven't had anything happen to me yet. Like we did one investigation at a vacant house that used the person that bought it said, we found out after we bought it that it used to be a meth lab and it got raided and all this other stuff. So there's all sorts of negative energy associated with that house.
Mm-hmm.
And their tenant was saying that they heard somebody fall down the stairs every morning at 2 a.m.
No shit.
So we post up and we record. We got a lot of EVPs, which are like our voice phenomenon, which is voices that you get on the recorder saying things like, we hate you, we don't want you here, have to hurt you. Stuff like that.
Damn.
This is also the same house where we get there and it was vacant at this time. The tenant had moved out. And me and one of my investigators sitting outside waiting for everybody else. And I look back at the house and I see a huge fucking spider in the window, like on the window on the inside. And I'm like, hey, I tap him on the shoulder. That's a fake spider, right? And then it moves, and he's like, no, that's real.
Oh shit!
We gotta take care of that before this one of our other investigators gets here because she was arachnophobic.
Oh.
So we took care of that spider, and then we made a run around the other house to make sure we got everything else that we could see, and we ended up finding a couple more.
So did these people move out because of the paranormal stuff?
I'm not sure. I just know that their tenant ended up didn't renew their lease and left. But we stayed there 2 a.m. Nothing happened except for a train going by. So maybe they just thought the train was something else. I don't know.
So you never heard the guy falling down the stairs?
Yeah, we never heard anybody fall. We got a lot of hateful EVPs. We came back another time, and we played those on loudspeaker to be like, hey, we heard everything that you said, and we just got more of the same shit.
Just more
hateful shit.
Do they get personal?
They haven't to me.
Okay.
And I think a lot of it has to do with how you interpret whatever they say too. Because in Virginia at St. Albans, we get a lot of the times it comes through on the recorders in the spirit box when you say, can you tell us your name? A lot of the times that I've been there, something comes through saying, oh, it's me. It'll only say me. It won't tell you a name, but it'll just say me. But then pretty soon afterwards, all your equipment will die. Like he'll drain the batteries out of everything that you have. But the ladies that we investigate with, they thought he was like malicious and intended harm or whatever. For me, I thought he was just somebody fucking around with people. So that's what I would do. Can you tell us your name? Oh, it's just me. And then you're done talking, so you kill everything.
And so then you just gotta go and charge all your batteries up?
And you're gonna change out the batteries. Go back.
Ah.
And one of the things I tell people that come out on the public investigation, like one of the biggest lies a paranormal investigator will ever say is, if you want us to leave, give us a sign and we'll leave. But if you give me a sign, I'm going to stay there and try to get you to interact
more. Exactly.
Like we took a newbie to St. Albans, and we were in the attic area, And we put him in a room, and we kind of like, we walked out of the room. We were sitting at the threshold in the hallway, and we're just BSing while he's in there by himself. And a door that you have to like physically shove shut, it was open when he was sitting there in the middle of the room in a chair trying to ask questions. And we hear a slam, and then we hear him go, "Oh shit!" And he gets up and runs out of the room. That door just slammed itself shut. No gusts of wind or nothing like that, and you have to physically shut that door because the bottom of it's on the ground.
No shit.
Yeah.
So, like, any explanation there?
I couldn't find one, and I've experienced things there too. Like, I'm Mr. Pareidolia, and pareidolia, what that is, it's your brain is wired to find, you know, natural patterns and faces and things that, you know, it's not a face, it's just splotches that your brain, it's like, when you look at the clouds, that looks like an elephant, that's pareidolia.
Okay.
So people will send me pictures of like a window, say, "Oh, I see a face in this window." I know what you're really seeing is the light reflecting off of certain parts of that window. And you're catching the dirt that's on the window and it's making it look like a face. So I come up the stairs one day during one of our 36-hour investigations, because we'll like stay there two nights. And I come around the corner, and in the attic, this is old, like it was abandoned kind of building where it's kind of dilapidated in parts. So like, there's no drywall. I can see the studs inside this wall. So I come up around the corner, and I see what looks like a gnarled female face just looking back at me from inside that wall. So I stop, I look down, and I'm like, there's got to be something in that wall that looks kind of like that my brain just kind of went, "Oh, this is what we're going to make you see right now."
Right.
So I went over to that wall, and there's nothing in there that could have looked like that. The only thing that was, you know, big enough to kind of be a face was a lock that was sitting on the ground. It was on the ground, not on the wall. And my, sorry, I'm not. Yeah, just dry throat.
Yeah, it's alright.
But the person that I was with, like, that's the only time that I've ever seen you like spooked and not able to explain it away. Because like whenever something happens, I try to explain it away.
Right. What do you think that's about? Do you think you try to explain it away to make yourself feel better?
It's not that. It's like I don't want to perpetuate the stereotype that, you know, the investigators that come out, they think everything's paranormal when it's not. I want to make sure, rule everything out before I say, "Look, I can't explain this."
This is paranormal.
Yeah. And we always try and have fun. Like, we did a place in Mechanicsville, Virginia, called the Cabin on 360, which is like an area where the Civil War area, so it has stuff attached to the land. Some of the claims were like they see torches and they'll see soldiers or whatever.
Okay.
And we weren't getting anything, so we decided to have fun. Megan and some of the other investigators, because you get the cabin in the building next door. And they're in the building next door, and in the cabin there's this freaky looking doll. So we take the doll, me and the other investigator take the doll because we're getting bored. And we go over to the other house, and there's a bay window, and Megan and some of the other people are sitting on like the windowsill. And my buddy Bruce is inside asking questions, and he's like, "We're gonna wait until they say, if you're here, can you knock on something?" So he gets to that point and he says, "Oh, if anybody's here, can you knock on something, make a noise?" So we're ducked below the bay window, and we bang the doll against the window so that all they see when they turn around is the doll, and we hear him scream. It's hilarious.
Oh, shit. So yeah, it's really easy to fucking manipulate people in
Yeah.
that situation. Which is why it's easy to make a TV show about it.
Yeah. And like the power of suggestion is crazy. Like,
Yeah, it's true.
if you have a spirit box, we use something that's called the Eustace method. When you have the spirit box, somebody has headphones on and they can't hear what the questions that you're asking. They're just giving you the answers that they hear.
Gotcha.
So they can't be like hear your question and interpret
Right.
whatever they're hearing into an answer that fits the context.
Right.
And a lot of times, if you don't have the headphones plugged in, they'll hear something and then they'll say it out loud what they think they hear, and then power of suggestion, you're going to hear that yourself.
Right. No shit. What weird. There's so much to it, right? Like,
Yeah.
It's not as simple as hunting ghosts. You know, like you have to really like have integrity and shit if you're gonna do this right. It seems.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like it's a very integrity-rich field.
It can
Or
be,
is
but I mean, it's a mixed bag.
Yeah.
Like any field, really.
Yeah, I guess so. It'd be like that sometimes.
Yeah. Well, on a different topic, the OCD has been getting better.
Okay.
It's flared and it flares and it goes down. I've gotten better at actually practicing what I preach and doing the ERP,
Mm-hmm. And what's the ERP?
which is exposure with response prevention. It's the golden rule of how to treat OCD.
Okay.
Do the things that make you scared, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like I went and saw Cocaine Bear, which we were talking about earlier, which I won advanced screening tickets to, so I got to go before it actually hit theaters and go watch it. And me and my buddy went and watched it. And I have harm OCD, which is where you'll think, but what if I hurt somebody? What if I do this? What if I, what if? And then you do your compulsions to try and get rid of that anxiety. But the ERP for that is to sit with those thoughts. And eventually you habituate to the anxiety, it doesn't bother you anymore. So I went and watched that movie, knowing that it was going to flare up my harm OCD, because it's a super fucking gory movie. But do not bring your kids to that movie. Jackie sent me a picture the other day that said they were selling kids tickets on like Fandango or something. Don't take your kids. It's so fucking bloody and drug-ridden. It was such a good meme of a movie though. But I went in knowing it was going to set me off a little bit. And by the end of it, I was feeling physically uncomfortable because there was so much like bodily gore and I wouldn't say body horror, but something along those lines. But it really set me off, and I was on edge for like a day and a half.
No shit.
Yeah.
Really?
Like
So-
on the way home, I was like, one of my compulsions when I'm having like an issue like that, where I'm like thinking, what if I think this thought? What if I do this? What if I do this? One of my compulsions, without me like realizing, is to do a certain pattern on my hands like this, where I tap my
Mhm.
fingers in a certain way. I would catch myself, about to do it, like, nope, can't do it because it's a compulsion. Got to break the rule.
So you don't acknowledge the compulsion, or you don't give in?
I don't give in to the compulsion. You got to try not to. I mean,
Okay.
undoubtedly, you will. And then that's when, what Ethan talks about, you have to practice, self-compassion because, yeah, you did it, but you just try not to do it next time.
Right. Give yourself a fucking break. It's not that bad.
Yeah. And I don't even know why it is that. It's just the compulsion that I have that makes the anxiety go away for 5 minutes. Then you find yourself just nonstop doing that pattern.
Right.
And it doesn't have the same effect anymore because, it's like a reassurance seeking. Where it alleviates the anxiety for, a short period of time, but it just comes right back.
Yeah.
You just have to face the anxiety. So at a certain point, I was like, you know what, no. Just think the negative thought that you're having because of this movie, and you'll be fine. So after about a day and a half, I did what I knew I was supposed to do the whole time, but was avoiding.
Life.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, I go through that in similar ways. It seems every time we have a conversation like this, it always seems like the things you're going through are very, very, very human.
Yeah, like yesterday. I mean, I won't go into specifics, but I sat there ruminating on, a negative thought, and I just couldn't get it out of my head, and I sat there thinking it all day, and it put me in a bad mood, and it made my anxiety go a little high, and when my anxiety gets too high, I start to experience disassociation, which is where you feel like you're outside of yourself, and like nothing's real, and because I've looked into what I'm going through, I know what's happening. So like when I start experiencing okay, it's a disassociation, I know what it is, it'll end eventually, but because I'm experiencing it, it gives me more anxiety, which makes the dissociation worse, until I eventually just be like, nope, just gotta sit with it and let it run its course and do my best to try stopping the negative thought. It wasn't like an OCD thought, like what if? It was just, I got hyper fixated on like something that wasn't even important.
Yeah, I hate when that happens. And I can imagine if it like is so much worse that it like becomes uncontrollable.
Yeah.
And I imagine that's where it goes from normal everybody stuff to severe OCD stuff.
Yeah. Because it just sits there playing on a loop. Because you go, it's not even important. I feel better now. And then no, you don't, because it comes right back.
Well, I mean, similarly, different but similar. I went into like this kind of anger funk.
Mm.
I made a mistake and I backed my Cadillac into my Nissan when I was pulling it out of the driveway.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even a big deal. Like, I gotta get the fucking rear quarter panel rewrapped. No big deal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's not the end of the world. But in the moment, I was so angry and so frustrated. And I was already battling like a morning fog of anger. And then fucking Donna comes outside and I'm like, fuck. I'm like, get away from me! Like, and so I fucking, I lose my cool and I'm just not a good human. And then I came home from work and I was still upset. And I was upset for a couple of days, it seemed.
Yeah.
And I had to similarly just face it and let it go. Be like, man, this is just where it is, and you're okay. But you didn't act the way you wanted to. But don't pull away from life forever.
Yeah.
And it was I physically noticed myself coming out of that just wrong place that I was fucking parked at.
Yeah.
And it was holy shit. How did I get there, and how do I get here faster from there?
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's pretty much how it was when I came out of my whole ruminating thing. Which it was you know how the universe kind of throws you what you need?
Yep.
I was experiencing that all day. My boss messaged me and she was like, "Oh, there's a mental health awareness meeting happening right now. Do you want to come to this?" I could probably use that. And it was probably one of the best meetings I've ever had at that company.
Really?
Yeah, because there was a licensed therapist talking about mental health and the stigma surrounding it and going over numbers and engaging us, so we were able to chat while she talked. But it was great. And then, the IOCDF had a town hall with Ethan on there, so we got to pop in there and talk in the live chat there.
Awesome.
You get what you need, and then at the end of the day, right before bed, I started feeling better.
Dude, I fucking hate that when I'm wake up and I can't get out of a funk and I'm in it all day, and then 9 or 10 o'clock it's oh, I feel better now, and you're I wasted the whole day being frustrated. I wasted the whole day being in my head, being outside of myself, not knowing who the fuck I am or what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's I've sat in a bad mood all day. I made other people miserable.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm out of my funk and I'm hey, it's better now.
Yeah, and people are oh, you.
Yeah, oh, fuck
you. Thanks so much for showing back up. Finally. It's rough. But I also acknowledge that Donna goes through things like that. My son Jaden goes through things like that. So we all kind of just take our turn not being right. And I feel in a healthy, happy household, the way the universe directs things is there's always going to be somebody that is right when somebody or some bodies are not right.
Yeah.
To help you through that moment by supporting you, by loving you. One of the most effective things that Donna always does is loves me through the part of my life that I am not proud of.
Yeah.
I don't know how to be a good, spouse and partner and even fucking person. I hate myself. I hate what's going on. I'm scared or, whatever the bullshit is, she's always able to love me through that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm beginning to get less shocked that she does every time, but it still kind of shocks me every time. I'm wow, how can you deal with this? I can't even deal with myself. So it's very interesting and cool to see that type of love and support from those around you that really give a fuck about you. And it's so hard to understand or acknowledge that. You know, yeah. So that's my rant for that.
I think it's important to have the people like that in your life. Like Megan has been my go-to.
Right, but like you're also hers.
Yeah.
Right, and like I love that, and I think with Donna and I as well, you know, like we're best friends, we're around each other all the time, you know, and like it's hard sometimes to be around somebody that much, and it's easy to lose sight of the fact of how much you love them.
Mm.
And then, you know, you go ahead and fucking go off the rails, and you're like, why are you still here? It's unsafe around me. And they're like, no, well, that's like part of my job. And you're like, oh. And like, those are really cool moments for me because they teach me how to fucking treat people too, you know? Like, oh shit, I'm supposed to be nice to you when you're frustrated and when you're going through it. I'm not supposed to fucking match energy because it's so easy to fall into like that matching energy phase, or like,
oh yeah, I'll do that myself when I realize what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. And it's like you got to check yourself. That's part of the magical motherfucker method.
Yeah.
Like, check yourself before you wreck yourself, man. Like, check yourself regularly, and then fucking develop the tools to adjust your fucking shit throughout the fucking day and your life. Because, like, dude, if you're not adjusting your shit regularly, ERP, it's a fucking tool, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, cool, I need a fucking tune-up now. This is terrifying. This is not good. I'm not okay. And boom, you find your way out of it. You know, we always find our way out of it. And that's really cool that we find our way out of it. But it sucks when you're in it and you don't feel like you're ever going to find your way out of it.
Yeah. And different tool. During that meeting, the therapist, she mentioned, we talked about ways to approach people, like your friends, when you notice that they're not, when you notice, you know, something's not right, and you want to approach them about it and ask them how they are, how you should initially phrase things. Like, don't start a sentence with you, because people immediately go on the defense when they hear you. Start it with I. So like, instead of saying you seem like you're going through something, or are you okay? Yeah. You say I noticed, like you said, I noticed that you don't seem yourself. Is everything okay? They're more likely to open up to you to start with an I phrase rather than a you phrase.
It's very true, and that interesting to think of, and you know, like, such a simple tool, but like, we're not really taught this stuff in society. So it's nice. It's nice that your company believes in this and supports this, because, you know, I believe in people needing to figure their shit out. Your best fucking person can have the worst fucking day. Yeah. And that's just life, you know?
Like, I sit there and I preach, you know, I post every day about mental health awareness, you know, positive attitude, and then I have a day like I had yesterday.
And then you're like, why? I am such a fraud! And it's like, no, you're not. It's easy to feel that way, but you're not.
Everybody can have a bad day. That's when you gotta, like Ethan preaches, you know, self-compassion.
Self-compassion, dude. And like, from that day, I've really, really, really been working on developing a much more, you know, sound self-compassion practice. Because, you know...
Let me get a drink.
Yeah.
Cora. What? Have my water, please.
Okay.
I do really good on a regular basis talking to myself. Mm-hmm. And when we had that interview with Ethan, he was like, dude, you sound like a pretty angry dude. You should try some self-compassion. And I'm like, I am an angry dude. I do need that. I do need self-compassion, you know, like, and it's just so interesting.
It's fine. Thank you.
It's so interesting that you know, what it looks like to have self-compassion. Yeah. And like, what it takes, because it just takes you constantly reminding yourself that you're okay and you're good, and you know, you're beautiful and you're perfect and you're doing everything right, and you know, the mistakes are no big deal. And it's so weird that it like is so, it's just so hard for us to turn that little practice into like just a daily way of living. It takes so much time and effort, and it's nice to have people point it out. It's nice to have places to go, to, you know, resources to help you figure it out. Because one of the biggest problems people always say when I try to teach them self-love is like, how? You know, like, Well, like for me, self-love and self-care is wakeboarding, massage, meditation, gym time, dicking off completely and doing absolutely nothing is super self-care for me.
Yeah.
You know, because I typically don't turn off, so when I get to turn off, that's self-care, you know? So like, self-care, grace and compassion for self is different, but like they're all connected, you know, because that self-care needs to happen, and the grace and compassion for yourself, that's like a daily thing. And if you do them both, well, I mean, I guess they're all daily things, right? But like that grace and compassion for self, that's a rough one, man. I just danced around a topic for a second, and I didn't mean to.
No, you're fine. Like I did go through a lot of self-hate and everything, especially when my OCD people, like they have a lot of self-hate and a lot of shame internally. Because a lot of it's like, oh, what if people know that I'm thinking these thoughts? They're gonna think that I'm a monster, kind of thing. But I mean, everybody has thoughts like that. It's just people with OCD get hooked on them. Like,
Right.
It plays in a loop, and they get stuck in a what if.
And you've got to fucking manage in a different fashion than someone without OCD. Yeah. And that's like the hard part, is realizing that, right? Because like you're so stuck in the what am I doing wrong? Why can't I stop this?
Yeah.
But you know, once again, I also do that in other parts of my life. You know, I get very angry in the mornings, and I'm like, why can't I stop this? What's wrong with me? Why can't I stop this? And I have to fucking make sure that I just remember, hey man, you're trying, and like do the ERP type things. You know, like just make sure you fucking keep an eye on yourself, and like you feel it catching up, like coming up. All right, acknowledge it and like sit with it and talk to it a little bit and see like what it's doing there. You know, like fucking. What is it really like? Where is this anger really stemming from? Are you just feeling inadequate? You know, like, and I think that's kind of what kind of compassion for self can look like having a conversation with yourself instead of hating yourself immediately. Yeah. You know, like, hey man, why are we feeling this way? Instead of you suck, I hate you, you piece of shit. You know, which is where a lot of brains go. Yeah. But it's weird because our human brain is so smart. But it's so dumb that we can trick it. So that's always fun too.
I actually found on OCD not on OCD, on Amazon OCD.
I found on OCD.
Yeah, I found on Amazon an OCD self-compassion workbook that I want to buy and try.
Really? Okay. Okay, that fucking sounds awesome. Self-compassion workbook.
And I bought a book on like how to love yourself too.
Okay.
I've only got about halfway through it, and then I started reading a horror book. But it's good so far.
What were the takeaways so far?
I got nothing really. I haven't gotten that far into it.
All right.
She just talks about, you need to practice some self-compassion. Everybody makes mistakes. That's about as far as I've gotten into it so far.
Okay.
The horror book was really good though.
Do you listen or do you read?
I do both.
Me too.
When I'm working, I usually have like a podcast playing while I'm working.
Okay.
But I do enjoy reading. Mostly what I read is like horror or mystery, or I like creature features a lot too.
Creature features?
Yeah, like where like Wendigo or like crazy Bigfoot stories. Stuff like that.
Okay.
Like where it's about like a monster or some kind of creature that's wreaking havoc.
Gotcha. Totes.
But the book, I forget what it's, Horror Store, but STO umlaut R. Written by a guy, he's done movies and shit too. He's done a bunch of books. If I knew the name of the author, I'd throw it out there, but I don't. It's about like a knockoff IKEA store.
Okay.
And they notice things are happening after they close. Like they'll come in and they'll find things moved, things broken, stuff spilled, kind of thing. And on the cameras, they can't see anybody coming in and out. There's no record of anybody opening the door. So they have 2 employees stay late one night. Ends up being like this crazy, supernatural, like portal to hell kind of thing. It takes a hard left about halfway through. it goes from, oh, it's just somebody breaking in. Oh, it's paranormal. Oh, that's a gate to hell. They're torturing people.
So, do you remember the movie The Gate from back in like the 80s?
Sort of. I remember the title, and if I saw the cover, I might remember the movie.
Oh man, these kids opened a gate to hell
Oh, is it
in their house when their parents went away on
what's his name?
vacation or some shit.
John Carpenter, right?
I think so. I'm not. I honestly I couldn't even tell you.
It's like in the backyard, and
Yeah.
I remember that movie.
Fucking wild, man. Well, we're rolling about to the end of this piece right here, and we're right around an hour in. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this little tat talk short. Well, not short, but cut it, and we'll get back to tattooing normal wise.
Yeah.
And thank you all for tuning in. Appreciate you for watching us talk about tattoos and life. Well, not really tattoos. We talk about life and vasectomies and mental wellness and mental health and
ghosts and horror.
yeah. I mean, we jumped around a lot today. But thank you guys for tuning in. As always, if you're ever feeling not good enough, remember you fucking are. You really fucking are. So stop it. I love you. Have a great day.